So I made two different videos last year that were centered around talking about my goals. The first was where I talked about what my goals were for the 2023 year, and then the next one was where I reviewed how I did on them by the end of the year. I honestly feel like this is a great way to make myself accountable for the goals that I'm setting, so obviously I had to do the same thing for this year. So here it is, the video where I talk about what my goals are for the 2024 year. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Tyler Warlow and I go by the Mengineer. I make videos on how to improve your life through your confidence, capabilities, and overall happiness. For those of you that haven't seen my previous videos on my goals, here's a basic summary. I believe that there are 6 main areas that you should focus on for improving your life. And those 6 areas are your personal finances, your confidence and presentation, your career, your mental and physical health, your goals, and continued learning. Now, this video in and of itself is about the goals aspect of that, so we're not really going to be covering that area. And if you want to see how I did on my goals last year, I will have that video linked below. But if you stick around and get to the end of this video, I'll be talking a little bit about what I plan to do differently this time around. But now that we just discussed that, let's go ahead and jump into the video. So the first area that I'm going to talk about is going to be that of personal finances. My fiance and I met our personal finance goals last year by saving for our wedding and establishing a 6-month emergency fund. Now that we've got those 2 main benchmarks taken care of, we wanted to start moving towards larger life goals, like possibly buying a house. But unfortunately, there's still one major obstacle that's getting in the way of that. Both of us were fortunate enough to get cars when we were younger, but now that we're older, they are older cars with a fairly high amount of mileage on them. And of course, with higher miles comes other maintenance and repairs that you have to do. And that's unfortunately just due to general wear and tear and the age of the car. For instance, I had to spend over $2,000 recently on just maintenance and repairs on the car. And that number was probably more than the value of the car itself. After discussing it a little bit, my fiance and I both felt it was best that if another large expense like that comes along, we'd rather just buy a new car. So now the last personal financial goal that we need to achieve before saving for a house is saving up enough money to get the down payment on 2 cars and be able to pay off the loans in 3 years by the end of this year. We haven't decided on the specific cars that we want yet, so we don't have a definitive dollar amount. But we figured that it would be best to start saving now and continue doing a little bit of research so that way we can get ahead of the ball and kind of have the money once we're ready. This is a pretty lofty goal that will require some pretty aggressive savings, so we're aiming for a savings of about $1,000 a month. But I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts. Do you guys have any recommendations for cars based on good gas mileage and reliability? I personally tend to lean towards Toyota, so I'm kind of considering the RAV4, but I would love to hear any thoughts and suggestions in the comments down below. The next area that I want to cover is confidence and personal presentation. And for me, I have 2 main goals in this. They're pretty small in comparison to a lot of my other goals, so I plan to achieve these fairly early on. But it was just something that I wanted to have written down, so I went ahead and actually did them and didn't keep putting them off. The first one that I want to address is actually getting to look a little bit more presentable at work. So what do I mean by this? The place that I work is a place of business casual, and pretty much all that I wear there are polos and chinos. So I'd like to have some stuff that might dress up a little bit more, maybe a couple of button-down shirts, just something that I could dress up for a little bit fancier occasions. So my personal goal in that regard is to get 3 nice button-down shirts along with 2 nice pairs of pants. I feel like these plus what I already have will give me a pretty solid foundation to mix and match depending on the situation that I'm going into, and I think I'll be covering a lot of bases. On top of that, I think it's finally about time for me to go ahead and take my old suit and get it fixed up. I've had this suit since my freshman year of college, so it's just about over 7 years old, so it's starting to show a little bit of wear and tear. The stitching's starting to get a little bit loose, and the buttons are just about to fall off. So I'd like to get some of those things repaired so it looks like new again. The second main goal that I want to bring back in terms of the confidence aspect of things is an old one, and that's going to be the talking to 1 new person a week. So I kind of succeeded this challenge last year, kind of didn't. Again, you can watch that video if you'd be interested. But I really want to work on that some more this year. I personally consider myself an extroverted introvert, which kind of means that I can take on the energy of whoever I'm around. If I'm around other extroverts, I can be fairly extroverted, but if I'm around other introverts, I tend to be a little bit more quiet and reserved. So I want to work on that and kind of work on being more comfortable talking to new people. If you want to see what I'm going to be doing differently in regards to that, remember to watch to the end of the video and I'll be detailing kind of what my plan is. But speaking of feeling confident and liking how you look, if you've been enjoying the video or finding the information helpful so far, please be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel. It helps us to grow and reach new people. Thank you so much, and now let's continue with the video. The next main category that I want to talk about are going to be my mental and physical health goals. Last year, I actually did a pretty good job sticking to my physical health goals. In most of the weeks of the year, I managed to get 4 days of exercise in. Not all of them were at the gym. Sometimes I would go play basketball or pickleball, but I typically got 4 days of exercise in. And I really only didn't when I was either sick or recovering from something. So this year, I have 2 main goals for physical health. The first one being that I want to get up to 180 pounds, which will be the heaviest that I have ever been. The reason for this is because I have kind of plateaued in terms of the weight that I've been able to lift at the gym recently. And I really wanted to start taking this more seriously and start seeing those numbers go back. And I know that that first starts with getting your diet under control. So I want to make sure that I'm eating enough protein and enough calories to gain a little bit of weight and help put on that muscle mass. Once I've gotten to 180 pounds, I want to start maintaining that weight and begin working on my second goal. My second goal is by the end of the year, I want to be doing at least 150 minutes of cardio per week, given that this is what is generally recommended by doctors. I'm going to start slowly with 30 minutes a week, and every time that I meet that goal for 3 weeks, I'm going to up the amount of time by 15 minutes. So this will allow me to do a kind of slow ramp up rather than just trying to jump straight in and achieve an additional 2+ hours of working out per week. I am a huge proponent of slow and steady progress, so that's exactly what I'm trying to implement here. So now that we've got the physical covered, let's talk about the mental. In terms of my mental health, I want to try and continue what I did last year. My fiance and I have already talked about setting up a weekend every single month to really focus on our relationship and each other. And then I want to take some point of time each week to call a family member or friend of mine. My family and friends have really helped me get through some tough times, so I want to be there for them as well. And I just want to keep those connections with them. The next area I want to talk about are my career goals. And this is a little less applicable or relatable. It's a little bit more specific, so I won't spend too much time on it. But my first goal in this area is I want to, by the end of the year, meet all of the key technical and behavioral benchmarks for being promoted. I'm not necessarily trying to get promoted because I know sometimes that's a little bit outside of your control, but I want to at least show that I'm working hard and meeting those benchmarks. Next, I want to get another certification in my automation skill set. I just feel like it's really good to be pursuing an additional skill outside of the main thing that I'm doing for my career. That way it keeps me well-rounded and also sets me up to potentially enter some industry that is showing a lot of growth right now. So finally, I'm going to get to the space of continued learning. And this time I have a lot less overall goals here because I feel like I overdid it last year. So this year, I only have one goal, and that's the same goal that I had last year but was not able to achieve. And that's going to be read at least 1 book per month. Now, I'm starting a little bit behind because obviously it is the end of January and I have not started implementing these goals. So I'm going to be aiming to read 12 books by the end of the year. I got pretty close last year. I got about 8 months in before I dropped off, and that was really frustrating to me once I examined that and realized that. So I think I really want to try and hunker down and make sure I achieve that this year. So for those of you that have stuck around this far, I told you that I plan to discuss what I aimed to do a little bit differently from last year. Last year, I didn't track these goals at all. I kind of just said that I was going to do them and then kept loose track of them in my own head. But I don't feel like that kept me very honest. And to be truthful, when times got busy or stressful or hard, it made it pretty easy to just kind of fall off of them and not keep doing them because I couldn't actively see it affecting anything. So the main difference between what I did last year and what I'm going to do this year is that I have written all these goals down and I've set up trackers for them. So each time that I achieve the goal in the time frame that I set for it, I'll be putting a check mark. Because for me, that visual cue and having that empty space really messes with my head. It bothers me to see that empty space. So being able to track them and see the progress will really help me to stay on track. And that's going to be the main way that I am attacking this a little bit differently from last year. But that's it, guys. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so much. If you found the video to be enjoyable at all, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Again, it helps us to grow and reach new people, and I appreciate it so much. Do you guys have any thoughts, opinions on what my goals are, or would you like to see any specific videos? If so, be sure to leave a comment down below so that I can see them, and I try to read and respond to as many of them as possible. If you're interested in more of my videos where I talk about goal setting, be sure to check out this video right here where I reviewed how I did on the goals that I set for 2023. If you're more interested in my most recent stuff, be sure to check out this video right here. But until the next time, this is the Mengineer, signing off.